Somebody asks, am I an INFJ or an INFP? Here's something that blurs the lines. I'd like to finish my projects. I feel incredibly content if I do, but I usually jump to another project. From that description, to me, I'd say you sound more like an INFJ than an INFP, because for an INFP to get upset about jumping between projects, no longer feeling compelled to do one and instead being interested in something new, or keeping a bunch of different projects open and sort of moving forward all at the same time. That's not really something that would upset an INFP until much later in life, when the stress of not actually making practical progress, using the resources they have at their disposal efficiently, making a plan and sticking to it and being efficient and being diligent, that catches up to them either later in life or in moments of extreme tension and extreme stress. And being forced to face that reality for an INFP is extremely stressful. That's for the INFP when they're caught in the grip of their inferior function, extroverted thinking, and they realize everything that's been missing in themselves all their life, and they launch themselves into an attempt to be an extroverted thinker, to get good results, to use what they have at their disposal well. And it's painful. It's painful to watch. It's very painful for them to go through. It only perpetuates their stress. For an INFJ, on the other hand, the reason you might jump from project to project, I'm an INFJ, so I'm just speaking from my own experience, is sort of as a methodology for communicating or making real something that you see internally. So you might see something in society that stands out to you, some connection between different things that other people don't see, some underlying meaning in the world. And as an INFJ, as a J type, we're not content to just see those things. We're not content, like an INFP is, to consider limitless possibilities and explore endless options. We know what we see, and we're driven to do something with that, but that can be a frustrating, lifelong process of figuring out the right avenue, committing to it, and going the distance. The book The Dip by Seth Godin comes to mind. He talks about how people go from being hobbyists or people with passions to becoming someone who's the best in the world in a certain area. You have to go through the dip where you put in the 10,000 hours. You master this avenue by which you're potentially going to bring your vision to the world. And that's very, very difficult. That takes growing up as a person. That takes all the self-development and self-improvement that INFJs are known for and passionate about. And that's why, because they want to do something with what they see. I should say, we want to do something useful with our insights. We beat ourselves up, though, when we see ourselves wasting time. I know for me, over the years, I've spent all kinds of money on different gear for different creative projects. I've bought instruments and things. You can see some of them behind me. I've made commitments with different friends to pursue different paths, record different podcasts, and be on different shows. All kinds of different things, as many as you can probably imagine. And it's frustrating when you're going down a certain path. When you started, you saw how that could potentially be the right one for you, but then you hit a point and you're like, is this really it? Is this what I should be doing? Maybe it's this other thing. I feel compelled to jump, but then I've wasted this time. And that, the weight of that, the pain of that hits INFJs a lot more frequently and a lot earlier than it hits an INFP, even though the experience for the INFP, when it does come, is much, much worse, because it's sort of something where they might feel like their whole life can be written off as useless. Whereas with us, it's sort of like, okay, I'm not this person. I'm not the whatever the avenue was. I'm not the speaker. I'm not the writer. I'm not the musician. I'm not the artist. I'm not the psychologist. I'm not the politician. I'm thinking of different avenues that an INFJ might try or identify with to bring their vision to the world, to make it experiential, to make it real. But that's the difference. So whichever of those two you relate to most, maybe that's a good starting point for you. I'd really like to go more into the differences between INFPs and INFJs, but I think I'll leave it for there. I'll just say this. I always type whenever I take a Myers-Briggs test as an INFP, even when I did the official one, the actual test to get certified, which takes days. For whatever reason, whenever I take the test, that's the result. I get INFP. And it wasn't until I learned from reading Carl Jung's initial typology about introverted intuition and what the life of an introverted intuitive, an INFJ or an INTJ, looks like, that I saw myself and saw this is the foundation of what I am. And so if you're questioning whether you're an INFP or an INFJ, I would look into the difference between introverted feeling as a cognitive function, as a trait, or as an ability, as a preference, as a core of your identity, the difference between introverted feeling and introverted intuition. And that should be enough to help you at least get started seeing which one you identify with, which one is the central core of your personality that's been there all along, that if you're honest with yourself is what's underneath the surface of everything else, driving you, revealing to you what your next steps are in life. And I'll leave it at that for now. I hope that's helpful.